Hello, and you're welcome back. So, in the last couple of weeks, we've been dealing with the child developmental series. Yeah, we've talked about cognitive development, we've talked about physical development, and on this video today, we'll be talking about emotional development. This particular topic is very important to us at McEard, and because of what we do, which is surrounded about around mental health, emotional health is a very important part of a human's life, and it is a skill that you can gain. You don't just creep on emotional development. It can be taught, it can be modeled, it can be lived out, it can be showed. So the same way we understand physical development and cognitive development and create an enabling environment for physical and cognitive development, it is the same pattern. And on today's series, I'm going to be spending time to break this down for us, how you can promote the emotional development and the emotional well-being of your child as a parent. So now, if you have not watched our last videos on physical and cognitive development, you can just check our feed if you're watching this on Instagram, and you will see those videos, or you can check our previous videos on child development and cognitive development on my YouTube channel right now. However, if you are also looking at a way to sustainably promote the overall well-being of your child, you can check our website at www.makeearth.org.ng or click the link in our bio, which will show you a list of other links that you can click to access our resources where you can use to support your child on your parenting journey. I hope you will do that. Run away now and click the link in our bio, click the link in my description. So let's talk about emotional child development. What are the things that you can do to promote the emotional development of your child? Number one, and the very most important of them, I wanted to bring this as the first because I teach this in our support communities. I teach this to parents, I say this to parents, and I even identify it when parents do it. So it is the most important. Number one, please make sure that you create a secure attachment to your child. And how can you do that? So on this particular series, I'm going to be telling you what you can do and how you can do it, because some of the things are kind of abstract. And so when you mention it, some parents don't know how to practically do it. So I'm going to mention how. So when I say create a securely attached situation for your child, it means whenever your child is needy of you, don't neglect and don't push away. Maybe because you're busy, and it is obvious that some parents get busy and get caught up. They have their own lives, and sometimes they see it like a lot of stress when their child is extremely needy. So the moment your child is extremely needy, there is something that you should be thinking about, and that is there was a time that you neglected them, and now they are seeking more for your attention. So if a child is securely attached, even if you leave them, so it doesn't happen immediately, because the first 3 months of a child's life, they are seeking a sense of attachment, they're seeking a sense of security. And for them to be securely attached to you, you don't need to have neglected them for a long time. They have to be able to trust that if they ever are in need, you will come through. So even if a child who is eventually securely attached at, let's say, 7, 8, 9 months, 10, 11, eventually when they become toddlers, they have received a sense of support, a sense of secure attachment for the last 6 months of their lives, that even if you leave them for, let's say, an hour and you're out, they know that my parent is my mother or my father is going to come back, right? Because there is a kind of secure attachment that you have created when they were needy. And being needy, for example, is when you just returned from somewhere, and let's say you just stepped out for a few minutes as a new mother, and your child sees you and tries to stretch out to you. Maybe you just want to pee. You can kind of, say, oh yeah, I see you and I know how you feel. I'm coming for you. Let me just go have a wee and I'll come back and take you. And immediately you're back. Show that you are interested in them. Show that you understand what they're feeling. Show that you are a safe place. Show that, yes, it is okay for them to want to be securely attached to you. Don't be dismissive of that sensation that your child is presenting. Don't be dismissive of it. Acknowledge it and use the opportunity to create a secure attachment. That's one of the ways to build emotional well-being for your child. The second way that you can build emotional well-being for your child is by modeling emotional regulation. Now, most of the time, parents don't understand what this means. When we say model emotional regulation, it's big English, right? So you're wondering, what does it mean? How am I going to do that? So the word modeling is living a lifestyle that you want to see replicate in other people. You are telling someone not to use cutlery. I always use this. You're telling someone to use cutlery. You don't use cutlery. You're telling someone not to call someone stupid, and you're calling someone stupid, mad. You're telling someone not to, be angry, but you are exhibiting a form of anger in front of your child. Yeah, right. You're telling them, oh, that not to steal is a bad thing, but you're picking pockets from your husband or something, that kind of stuff. So you must model emotional regulation. For example, when your emotions are everywhere, you must model how you are able to kind of respond to that situation by not allowing your emotions to take a hold of you. Emotional mastery is a skill, and the time that you see a lot of adults exhibiting emotional instability and emotional immaturity, it didn't start now. It started from childhood. And that's why when people say they turned out well, I just laugh, because you didn't turn out well. If you did turn out well, you will learn how to emotionally manage situations by not getting to the extreme. It doesn't mean that you won't follow from time to time, but you are in charge of your emotions. You don't treat people the way you feel. You don't treat people the way the situation is. You are able to tame your emotions under control and live at a place of stability, place of tranquility, place of peace. So emotional regulation is for you to get emotional regulation in your child is by you modeling emotional regulation in you, in the times where you are emotionally stressed, in the time where you have to exhibit your emotions. How do you handle yourself? It is that time your child will learn that, oh, I don't have to raise my voice when I'm actually saying something that is annoying me or something that is pissing me off. I can express my displeasure without being forceful, without raising my voice, without verbally abusing. I can actually express myself without having to be destructive. So you've modeled it over and over for your child to see, even at a very tender age of 1 month, 2 months, 3 months. That way your child knows how to emotionally regulate their emotions. They know that, oh, when people don't do things that I want, I don't have to be angry and throw tantrums or hit the wall or badge on the wall or be angry, because over the years I've watched my parents, or I've watched my mother or my father respond to situations where people didn't do things the way they wanted, but this was how they responded, and it happens automatically. Because remember, in our physical child development conversation, we said that whatever happens at conception has the ability to last forever, and it is the experiences of the first 2-3 years of life that the experience of the subsequent years is built on. So it's like a foundation. So the moment you're able to model that behavior in the first 2-3 years, it's easy for a child to emotionally regulate themselves, even when people do things in line with what they don't want. They are able to manage their emotions, express their displeasure without being destructive. So that's an easy way to emotionally manage, or to help develop the emotional well-being of your child, or emotional development. So the next point, which is the last and very also important point, is create room for open communication that allows you to validate your child's feelings. Now, a lot of times people don't realize that people's feelings are valid. Irrespective of how they feel, it is valid. So even as a child, their feelings are valid, and because they don't have the capacity, remember the word capacity, to emotionally regulate themselves, that's why you are there. And that's why when we talk about physical, cognitive and emotional child development, the parents has a role to play. So even in the last point I just mentioned, you see that you have a huge role to play, because your child does not have the emotional capacity and doesn't have the physical capacity to do the things that you want them to do. You must acknowledge their inabilities, you must acknowledge their feelings, you must acknowledge inadequacies. That's the word now. You must acknowledge it, because if you don't, you are expecting from someone who hasn't been trained or who hasn't experienced that situation before. Remember, they come as a clean slate. You are expecting something from someone who has not been given anything. So it is your job to validate their feelings, especially when they are expressing. For example, your child is throwing tantrum, especially for toddlers, and you want to find out what it is. You want to open room for conversation. You want to listen to their reason. You want to ask them to speak. You want to pay attention. You want to give them that time of honor, make them feel like they're seen, because most of the time a child tantrum is a communication. They are communicating by their tantrums, they are communicating by their exploit, so they are communicating by everything that they're doing, they're communicating by even crying. So it's a form of communication. So you must pay attention and try to find out by leaving room to listen, so you can ask open-ended question. Do you think that something is wrong with you? Do you think that if I give this to you, it will make you feel better? Even if your child is just 1 year and it's not yet, has not started speaking yet, his speech is not yet coordinated yet, it's not yet coherent like you want it. Open room for communication. Let them start speaking. Let them start expressing their feeling and validate their feelings. Because if you don't validate your child's feeling, another person out there will find a way to validate it, and that way they will now influence them. You can only influence a child whose feelings you validated and acknowledged and open room for them, for you to communicate. And when they communicate, you can now influence. When they communicate, you can now share with them and share your reasons why this shouldn't happen this way, and show them a way that should happen. Because when we talk about parenting, it is you being there as the instructor to direct a child to do what is right. It is not just you throwing tantrums around and feeling like, oh, this child is here to frustrate you. No, for parenting, it will require emotional skills. It will require emotional mastery. You must master your emotions, because your child will test your patience, especially as toddlers, and eventually when they even become teenagers. They will test your patience, they will explore, because they don't have the capacity. So you must, on your end, earn emotional mastery for you to be able to raise your child to be emotionally stable and to be emotionally healthy. So when we talk about physical, cognitive, and emotional development, we want a sense of healthiness, and that applies to emotional development. There must be emotional health, and this can only happen by you supporting and following through with these 3 points that I have mentioned, which I'm going to recap again. Number 1, create room for secure attachment. Number 2, model emotional regulation. Number 3, open up communication and validate their feelings. I hope you found this video useful. We have been doing this series for the last 3 weeks talking about child development. We hope to bring you more on child development in the coming weeks. Let me know if you found this video useful, and if you have a question or have a comment, drop it for me in the comment section, and drop me an emoji to give me a hug. It's not easy to show up every other day. Thank you so much for watching up until this time. Remember to click the link in our bio to search out for our resources. You can purchase them. You can even book some therapy session with us. We are open to supporting you during your parenting journey. And we hope and we believe that with access to our resources, you'll be able to have an improved experience. You'll be set up to give the right form of care to your child so that we can have a better society. Thank you for watching up until this time. Until I see you again. Goodbye.